Right, are we going live yet? Let's have a look. I think we should be live now. Yep. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to WHU TV. My name is John, your host, as always. Even apologies for the delay. Our guest had a bit of technical issues logging in, hence why we're 10 minutes later than we should be. As always, this video is sponsored by the channel sponsor 3retro.com. Go check out their link in the description below, guys, for the retro shirts. Some really nice gear in there as well, so go check those out. Anything that you want to you will purchase, the commission will help to go funding the channel, so thank you very much for that, guys. As I say, you've got an example of what's available in there, so go and have a look at that. But basically, unless I'm not going through the whole spiel because you've heard it way too often over the last year or so, the purpose of the conversation today, as you would have seen from the thumbnail, is we've got somebody who used to work for West Ham United. Was there for a couple of years. Long time West Ham fan, of course, as well, for that matter. It is Leon. Leon, mate, how you doing?
How you doing, pal? You all right?
Good, mate. Good, mate. A little bit more relaxed than I was on Saturday night, to be honest with you. I'm hoping a lot of people have calmed down over the last couple of days. But, mate, what were your thoughts for Saturday?
Shambolic, to put it blunt. I love Mark Noble. I love him as a person. I've known him for a while. Absolutely top fella, but the guy can't play as attacking midfielder. And as much as I think Souček should have took that role, I still don't think Souček should have played there, personally. So I think we went into negative straight away. I personally, I'm not a great fan of Antonio. I never have been, and I don't think I never will do. He's I run a football team on a Saturday and Sunday, and he just reminds me of one of them. He's got no ability, but he's got power, he's got pace. He's one of them you would literally on a Saturday or Sunday say, right, stay up front, get the balls over behind it, and he doesn't offer nothing. And then, yeah, you look at Haller. I don't think he really offers much. You could say that you could play him off each other, but I don't know, mate. I just think that the squad, we ain't got quality in the squad, personally. We're going to survive this year. And I after one game, I just don't think there's too much going on behind the doors.
Yeah.
With COVID, I just don't think we'll stay up. And yeah, we just have to wait and see. But I don't rate us this season. I can't see us getting another point in the next 5 games. I know we've got a cup game tomorrow, but I don't really want to play in that either. I think it's pointless. As much as I love a cup run, but you know, you're going to chuck in a lot of youngsters tomorrow, which probably won't play against the Arsenal. So yeah, it's a pointless situation, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, it's been coming for a long time. Not to put too fine a point on it, like you're saying, mate, but I honestly think that shot of Noble on the bench summed everybody's feelings up right there. Yeah. And then I know loads of memes have gone around over the last couple of days, making light of it and stuff. But yeah, it sums up. It is an absolute fucking shit show at the moment. It really is terrible. When I did the live watch along on this, I wasn't disappointed. I was angry from it. I thought we had some decent chances in the first half. Nothing in the second. But we all saw it coming. The only people that didn't see it coming apparently is David Moyes. Very, very, very worried about some of the substitutions he did. Way too late. Why on earth he continued to play players out of position? Like you're saying, I mean, okay, technically Mark Noble's position 10, 15 years ago is attacking midfield because that's where he originally started out. But you know, with age, he's dropped back and putting Yarmolenko on and putting Bowen out onto the left. Not a good idea. Nobody seems to like to be able to play down our left hand side, no matter who we have. We can't have it with Masuaku in either of it. Lanzini can't do it. Fornals can't do it. You know, Bowen struggled, bless him. It's a real shit show we've got going on there, mate. It really has been bad, and I can see some of the conversations are coming in and the chats. Good, hello guys, thanks for everybody. Vernon, good to see you, mate. I'm glad you've got a day off today because yeah, you ain't been around for a while. You've US boy. Kent Hammers, this squad is worse than the squad that finished in the Avon Grant season, in his opinion. Totally agree. It's starting to worry. Nick says, agree about Antonio. I think he's good impact sub, but like Allardyce needs a player with him, like Pookie, but maybe Moyes can convert Anderson into a striker. Why not? He can play the number 10 role pretty well. And Gary says, first year, I'm not buying the tops. Don't want to give them another penny. Totally agree with you, man. I mean, I'm regretting renewing my season ticket, if I'm honest with you. I've really regretted doing it, and this is going to be my last, and unless anything happens. But the crux of this conversation, as I said, is the fact that Leon's going to tell us his experiences with working with West Ham for the period of time that he was. So, Leon, talk us through it, mate. Tell us how you got started into being the DJ at West Ham.
So, how it started out, John, is I don't think people might remember me, but back in the day, I used to get, well, I still do, to be fair. I get a lot of information about the club, and I used to be on Twitter. Here's an article in the Daily Mail. I released the kits a few years ago, pictures of all the kits, and that's how I grew. So I got a phone call from someone from West Ham at the time and asked me to come down to the training ground. Sorry,
mate, I've just got to drop out. Keep talking. I've just got to sort something out quickly, very quickly.
So, yeah, I was down at the training ground, and someone that worked at the club, still does, asked me to go along. So I went to the training ground and just asked me, would I be interested in working for the club? I used to work for the club back in the day. I used to work in the Basildon store. I always remember I still got my first wage slip saying played by West Ham United. I still got the contract as well. So anyway, yes. And then from there, this is when Jack and Dave used to be a lot on Twitter talking on that. And I've become friends with them, literally over Twitter, exchanging numbers. And then all of a sudden, I was watching a program. I can't think which is what it was in a minute. But Manchester City had DJs outside the stadium. And I text Dave. I said, ask your dad, can I DJ outside our stadium? He said, yeah, why not? I've got all my own stuff anyway. So I did that. And that was the Crystal Palace game on when Dylan passed away. That was the first game. And we got a massive response saying, oh, who's this DJ? Like, why is it buzzing outside Upton Park and all that stuff? And then I had a meeting with David Sullivan Sr. I went to the house where all the players go to have their contract talks and sign for the club. And I was giving young Dave a DJ lesson at the time, and he was there. And it just come about, like, why don't you DJ for us in the stadium? We don't get really many people in the stadium before kickoff. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, crack on. It was like a no-win situation, like the club that I love for and doing the job that I love. And then met some lovely people there, like Russ is still there now. And Russ is an absolute top fella. I love him to bits. And people get confused because people think I was pressing bubbles. It was always Russ, bless him. Doesn't get enough credit. I was the DJ before Russ.
I saw that he put up on his Twitter account on Saturday saying it's the 20th anniversary of when he first did it on Saturday. So yeah, he's been there a long time, bless him. Long time.
He's a lovely guy, and he's there is a few that I still talk to at the club, but Rusty's been doing it, and we just become good friends from it, really. We used to take it in turns. So where my DJ box used to be was up at the, I'm going to get confused now, where the Dr. Martin stand is. It was in the corner where the big screen is. I literally had my own like room as such. Perfect views. Just at the time I was working for Kiss FM, doing some history stuff, all the old school stuff. So I used to do all that at West Ham as well. It was just like and then all of a sudden the club brought me into a meeting and said, like, numbers are up. We don't know if it's you for definite. Numbers are up, like pre-kickoff. Like, well, carry on doing what you're doing, and that was it, mate. And literally, I stayed I'd done every game to the last game, which was Manchester United. And I left after that. I didn't want to go to the Olympic Stadium after what happened to me, really.
Okay, so we'll obviously come on to that.
Yeah.
But okay, so for your first season, the 13-14 season, explain, because obviously that was when that was pretty much 99% when all the negotiations for the stadium were being done. Obviously, way behind the scenes before it came out in the press a year or so later. But well, actually, no, it would have been around about the same sort of time, actually, thinking about it, wouldn't it? It would have been around about the time when the first bid was going in for us to own the stadium, etc., etc. So, so what sort of conversations were you having with the people that you were working with at the time behind the scenes around that sort of thing? Because I know you did mention at one point there was a conversation about the chicken run.
Yeah.
But I mean, was that in your first year?
What do you mean about the chicken run? I don't remember what you.
The reasons why you were told that reasons why we couldn't redevelop it rather than the stuff that was made made public.
I've always been told that so when they took over the club, that it was going to cost between 40 to 60 million to do the chicken run, and we all know the story. It's probably a lie that we couldn't do it because of the bus stop behind and all that stuff. But they knew from the beginning of buying this club that the long run was the Olympic Stadium. They was promised that that's the whole point of getting West Ham, because the Olympic bid had been approved and we would get the stadium after that. So always knew this. They was 10 years before it even come to us. So they was never going to put 40 to 60 million in to build the stadium, the stand, to make Upton Park. We was always, the minute they signed, we was always leaving Upton Park. Always. There was nothing. There was no conversations about staying. We was going because we got a free stadium.
Yeah, I mean the videos have been doing the rounds again today on various social media platforms. Of they're literally the first integral announcement that they've taken over and etc. Saying it's in West Ham's interest to move to the stadium. Blah 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 blah. I mean we obviously know that they tried the same thing with Birmingham City, but this Birmingham City Council rejected it. So maybe in 2009-10 when they officially became season, that's when it was originally given the green light. Otherwise they wouldn't have been able to talk about it straight away. Now, to be honest with you, mate, 50-60 million quid in today's market, it's not a lot to redevelop a stadium stand, I should say.
Say that though, pal. Like, let's be true and be about West Ham fans, right? You're right what you're saying. 40 to 60 million is not a lot of money, right? But for some reason, it is for West Ham. And I can get my head around that. Why can other clubs can spend stupid amounts of money, but then we're scrimping and saving on Jack Wilshere's wages or Andy Carroll? Why is it a big problem? I said something the other day to someone. Why do we always buy a player, never give him a chance, and after the second season, we're always saying, "Oh, we might look to sell him on if an offer come in." So many players that David Sullivan's come out and said that. Why don't we never give him a chance? Like Anderson's the same. Anderson was put up for sale really last season. He only had,
pretty much.
They never get a chance. It's a joke. You go for the youngsters as well. Like, all right, Ashley Fletcher, right? We never give him a chance, but he was at the club. All right, he didn't do well for a couple of games. All right, he's up for sale and he can go in. No one gets a chance. It's like literally they want to claw back everything they get. It's like keeping hold of a receipt. Oh, it ain't good enough. Let's see if we can get our money back. We don't give no one a chance. Like Haller, there was offers. What did X come out and say this summer? An offer coming for Haller. We'll let him go.
Mate, if an offer comes in for anybody, we'll let him go. That's West Ham. It's always been West Ham's way. Always has been.
Yeah, but you go back under Harry, mate. I know for a fact that Rio never wanted to go, and I think that's been our biggest downfall since then. And I know we're going back a few years, but we showed even back then we was a selling club. And I still believe, and one of my best pals played for West Ham, Bertie Brayley, who was in the youth team. And I've always said to Bert, and he agrees with me as well, that I genuinely believe if we would have kept them players, we would have won the Premier League. 100%,
Yeah.
and kept Harry as well. I generally, but that's when it started, John. I genuinely believe that was when clubs knew that West Ham was a selling club, and that's when it's never been since. And Declan Rice will be going. He'll be going before October. I've got no doubts about that. And I think on Saturday, I know he's getting a lot of stick. He didn't look as good. He was giving the ball away, but I think this. I don't think it's like there's no bids coming from Chelsea yet, but I think it's playing on his mind, or something else is playing on his mind, because it was Declan Rice that we all love.
Well, you say that though, mate. But if you look at it from the other point of view, right? He's played no pre-season.
Yeah.
He picked up an injury. He played games for England. One of his best mates he's never going to see again.
Yeah.
In terms of the way that he you would normally do, because now is 150 whatever long period of time it is to get up there up to Birmingham for it and stuff. There's this harmony within the background. It's understandable that he's going to have a poor game. It's understandable that everyone is going to have a poor game. It's because of what's been going on. I mean, I don't think it was Rice's. I don't think he intentionally played the way that he did, but
No.
everybody is thinking in a slightly different way. Things are shit here. As we said before we went live, Noble's face when he was sitting on the bench when it was on telly. That's how everybody's thinking at the minute.
Yeah, like
they're all worried for themselves, but to a degree, but it blatantly seems that Noble is very worried for the long term of the future of the club, and I think there are a few players in there that's why Antonio was trying to smash everything he possibly could, because he wants to score a goal and try and keep us safe this season. I mean, I saw from on Claret and Blue Army TV this morning this afternoon, I should say, when Steve was saying about he read the program notes for Saturday's game. Moyes' message in there is key survival to stay up. You don't need to put that in a program, man. That just shows you how bad things are behind the scenes. I
just can't get my head around it, John. Like, why are we the only club who's blaming everything to COVID? I can't get it. Like, on paper, we should be one of the richest clubs in the Premier League. We've got no bricks and mortar. We don't own a training ground. We don't own a stadium. We've got all that money behind us. Yes, we're 100 million in debt, but who ain't? Every other club is. But why all of a sudden, why has Golden Sullivan got to pump another 30, 40 million off another loan? Why have we got to sell players? I can't get my head around it. And it's literally coming down to one thing. I think they're holding on to everything because they've turned around and know that they're going. And why should they pump money in? Why should they put their own money in? Because they know that money's going to be theirs and in their pockets. And they don't need to put it.
But just going back to just your time at West Ham for a minute here, mate. Just like, for example, in the that first season that you were there, the 13-14 season, that wasn't the best of times. I mean, was there any I mean, what was it like to work in that stadium? Because I mean, did you manage to speak to anybody to find out how people were feeling at that time?
So the first season was when Allardyce went to the diamond formation, and we was quite well. And going off the subject, like when I went to Dave Sullivan's house to speak to him, Jaffa Sacco literally come out the door. Was walking in and I was walking out. That's just the way it is, and it just. There was nothing like. I still talk to some of the players now, and I'm quite friends with them. I've been in a program. People like Jack Collison and Colton Cole, Kevin Nolan, and I got to know them a little bit, and they were saying, "Look, everything's rosy. There was nothing going on. No one knew anything." And also as well, John, it's quite weird, as in like what happened to me, how I left the club as well. But back then, it was a family club. Like I'll give you a scenario. I would walk through the front doors at Upton Park, and there would be Ben, who runs the stadium then, and he still runs the corporate side. but they all knew your name. I didn't really have to show a badge if I didn't want to because they knew who you was. And it was family. You'd walk up the stairs, and I don't know if many people had boxes up there, but they had like that. That was called the blue coats up at West. They all knew you. I didn't really need to go into security. All friendly. It was proper family club. And the minute them lights went off at Upton Park, literally the next day, that club turned. And I still to this day, it comes up on my Facebook quite often. I said West Ham has died. And people was going to me, what are you going on about? I was like, listen, it will come out in a couple of years, but I'm telling you now, West Ham's died. It literally turns the next day, the club turned. It was like there was no more family. No, they didn't give a monkey's. Like that was it.
After the last ever game, yeah.
Literally, mate, I was there on the Wednesday picking up my stuff. I took my nephew and my dad. I went and picked my stuff up, and it all of a sudden there was new security on the door. There was new people in there. Like we've left the stadium, but there was new people there. It was horrible. It was like, well, this is a sign what's to come. And then and all you get now is it's not our stadium. It's not our stadium. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's not our stadium. We don't own outside. We can't do this. We can't do that. A lot of people got sacked. The company that run the TVs at Upton Park, they got sacked at first and Karen realised that she made a mistake and was like, I'll bring them back after one season because they've done a good job and wanted to go someone cheaper and then brought them back. The people that done all the advertisement boards, they got sacked and then brought back. The bubble men got sacked and got brought back because they was trying to cut for us. I was promised that I was coming back, promised so many times, and then didn't come back. And I just felt my last ever game was the best game that I've ever been to for a West Ham fan. And I felt like, no, I don't. Because I want to stay as a fan. I don't like when I got told a lot of information and I can't really put on Twitter, oh, that player plays shit or what's he doing? Because I was contracted to the club and I didn't want to lose my job. So it was a bit like, you know, I went to the Juventus game and it just felt the minute you walked into that stadium was a corporate concert. Basically, it felt like a concert. Since the minute I walked in there, it's never ever felt like a football stadium. It never will. I hate the stadium with a passion. I said that after the first minute of being in the stadium because it ain't West Ham. It's never going to be West Ham. We've all grown up as West Ham fans of being that little club. I say little because really we are because
we've always been the underdogs, haven't we? We've always been the underdogs.
We've always been that club that want a nice cup run, beat a Tottenham, beat a Chelsea. And that's us. That's our season. And all of a sudden, we're promised. I always remember that summer I done a knees up Mother Brown night for Graham, and I gave the award away for I can't think it was best podcast at the time, and that's when Chris was on there. And that night, I actually had a text and proved it on stage as well that Jack Sullivan sent me saying, "Oh, we've just bid 40 million for Lacazette." Then I actually turned around. I think off the top of my head, it was Anton Ferdinand, Walker, or Marlon Airwood, or all three of them was at the event. And I actually showed them. They turned around, yeah, that's bollocks. And that it was that. And I used to get told like, Carlos Bacca was signed. He was at the training grounds, and it was just all. And honestly, I'll say this to all my family members. I genuinely feel now that I got friended by the Sullivans to keep my mouth shut because at the time I did have a following on Twitter, and it was just literally to shut me up because I knew a lot of stuff. And then since then,
like what, for example? Now you're not a former employee. Like what, for example?
I know who the players are coming in. I knew who's at the training ground. I knew. I always remember Dave Sullivan Jr. is actually an agent now, and I helped him. I not helped him. I was speaking to him on the day when he done a deal together, his first ever deal. when Colton Cole was meant to go to West Brom, and he sold Matt Jarvis to.
Yep.
But that was Dave Jr. that done that, and I was constantly talking to him through the day, saying what's going on, and they would tell me everything and anything, you know. And it's quite common knowledge now from other people as well. You could send an email to David Sullivan, and he would tell you. It is still the same now. I'm not going to name the website, but I think we all know that that's where information from, and I say that with a hesitation because Sean and Hugh are good friends of mine, to be fair, but they're not really, as I know they're getting a lot of stick at the minute, but at the end of the day, they're only doing what they've been told, right?
Yeah.
I know that.
And as sorry to interject there, Leon, mate, but it is a bugbear of everybody. It really, really is. But at the same point, I know full well that Sean and Hugh are selective in the same way that X is selective, in the same way that up until a few years ago, when Graham's relationship changed with the board as well. Hence him being very behind the GSB out movement, which obviously, you know, the majority, regardless of what people on TalkSport are saying, it's the majority, not the minority, that are unhappy. It's the other way around. It's the minority that are. But you know, it's, you know, they are very selective of what they hear and what they put out. You know, because if they put out everything, I guarantee Sean would be under a lot more pressure and a lot more stick than he currently is at the minute. And like, you know, and likewise, you know, people jumping on the bandwagon giving X abuse for telling things that he knows we want to hear. And you know, the guy's been absolutely spot on. You know, I mean, you know, I know that, you know, like for example, Hammers Chat have conversations with people that know the board. You know, Nicky's tried to have conversations from West Ham Fan TV, and they have people in certain areas that can give them information, and fair enough. You know, that's down to them, because at the end of the day, they want to find out that information. They want to give it out to the fans in the same way. That's the way that Sean does it. It's and Hugh do it. The only problem is that they don't think what they're doing in the same way that the board haven't thought about what they're doing. Like you're saying, mate, all those people that were being sacked from the bowling, being brought back to try and recuperate everything that was going on in London Stadium. So, likewise with the stewards, you know, they got rid of all the West Ham stewards, brought in the third party company, and then all of a sudden they a year or so in, they try to bring the West Ham stewards back. I mean, do you know anybody of the stewards that were willing to go back to the London Stadium?
No, I don't know any stewards, but I even got asked back, and I refused to go back in after the first season, because I just don't want to be associated with the club no more. I've literally, my girlfriend would tell me, I live, breathe everything of West Ham United. I literally breathe it, and I don't give a shit anymore. I couldn't give a monkeys. Like, if you said to me on Saturday, would I take the COVID out of it?
Yeah.
Would I Saturday? No, I wouldn't have gone, because I don't give a toss no more. And I think what West Ham fans are all like now. I don't give a toss. Like, I've got the new shirt on, but I got it from someone, but I don't really want it, because I know the shirt that we're going to go down in. It's poxy. The whole thing is poxy. Like, from the youth, like, where it is. I'm watching the Tottenham documentary at the moment, and I know for a fact, John, 100% fact, our club is not run like that.
No way. I've been watching it as well. It's really entertaining. I tell you what, all of them, not just the All or Nothing stuff, but the I haven't seen the Juventus one yet, but the Sunderland one scared the hell out of me. Really scared the hell out of me. And the way that they were being run in comparison to us. And yeah, it was on Saturday. I was talking about the Spurs All or Nothing program. I mean, because it hasn't, obviously the series hasn't finished yet, because we've still got the COVID bit to do. They're up to episode 6 at the minute. You know, it's just proves the fact that no matter how much we hate that freaking club, they are run 10 times better than we are and ever will be, but But as you know, as I said last week, mate, I never ever thought I would say this. I would take Mike Ashley over these two owners. That's how bad things are at the moment, and unfortunately, a lot of people agree with me.
I'll give you a scenario, John. Right, only up to this season, right. West Ham's youth was training at Chadwell Heath. As I said, my mate grew up as a youth team. He won the FA Youth Cup. And he's always told me this story. His first training session he had with the first team, the day that Hartson kicked Berkovich in the head. And
remember that.
Always said, like, it would gear them on more to do better in training because Harry would look over and go, oh, he's doing good. He's doing good. I'll bring him over, send him over, let him have a kick about with us. Now, why are West Ham, like watching the Tottenham documentary, why are West Ham the only club that have fucking 4 different training grounds? All our youth is nowhere near the first team. And David Moyes don't even know who the youth players are, or previous the other managers. Why are we up? Well, I don't. You look at the documentary, you've got the youth there, you've got the girls there at Tottenham. Like, they've got like 15 to 20 massagers and physios. And I know a story. I don't believe it for a second, but I got told a story that Russ Green has been developed quite well over the last few years. I was there when I first went there, when Fords had it. And I always got told, oh, we're going to build a hotel on the complex, which makes sense. Tottenham have got theirs. I've just watched night 5-star hotel in their training ground. And I always got told a story that Slaven Village turned that down. Now, I do not believe for a second that why would you send up players back to Canary Wharf for a pre-match and a sleep, etc., when we can have it at training ground? Why are we the only club to do that? Why are we?
Well, to be honest with you, mate, I think that was a stone cold class example of Sullivan throwing Bilic under the boat. He might said he said he might not agree with it, but at the same point, you're absolutely right. Why we put a club out, send a club that it would cost us 10 times more than it would to. I mean, okay, or it might take a 10-15 million quid minimum to build a hotel like that. But at the same point, looking at it from the other point of view, it was too convenient that it was the time when they were slagging Bilic off for bringing in the wrong players, blah, 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 when some of them we know full well were Sullivan signings in the first place. And going back to the Spurs one, I agree. But I just watching all those programs where you're seeing that, I just kind of think some of it might be just for the cameras. Yeah, look how well we are doing, all this sort of stuff.
You say that, John, right? And I told you what about David Sullivan. Now, Daniel Levy's got his own office in the training ground. He sees Jose Mourinho every day, every minute, right? Now, David Sullivan sits at his house. He's got, after I actually sat in the office, I've got a picture that I'll prove it to you as well. He sits there and does everything from there. Now, in my eyes, Karen, Dave Sullivan, David Gold doesn't really get involved in the club running. They should be at the training ground. They should. Karen shouldn't be at the stadium. And David Sullivan should have his office there. He should be in David Moyes' ear going, right, what the fuck happened on Saturday? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? What can we do? What can we do?
They don't care, mate. They don't care. They absolutely don't care.
And why is David Moyes want to go and see David Sullivan? He's got to drive all the way into Essex to go and have a meeting. When you look on that documentary, Levy walks straight into Jose's office and goes, right, Joe, all that about last night. It's just, instead of doing it over an email or a phone call. And and it's true. Like, I've been there myself. I was there when Sacco signed. Sacco was a Sullivan signing, and he told to himself in front of me. He went, oh, Sam Allardyce ain't going to like him, but I like him, so I'm bringing him in. And that was his actual words.
Yeah.
That was my first day at West Ham. So
he just tries to play Championship manager, and he wants to be there when we're winning 4 or 5 games on the trot. And when but I say I just don't care. I really, really just don't care. Ozzy's asked a question here, Leon. Is Peter the kit man still at West Ham? Do you speak to him?
No, Pete left on the last day of the bowling as well.
Okay. And just going back to a question that Len has asked earlier, mate. In terms of when you were saying about you've given up, you don't caring about it anymore, and I mean, you obviously still do because otherwise we wouldn't be having the conversation. But you know what I mean. You don't care about going back to the ground anymore. Len has asked, Leon, if the board sold, would you change your opinion?
No, because it's not West Ham for me no more. West Ham's died. The West Ham that I grew up has died. And the only way to get this back, I actually said this to Baz the other day. The only way to get West Ham back, and I don't think this will ever happen either. So a potential owner that come into the club would have to spend 100 million plus on a squad. You're probably spending about 60 to 120 million, let's give or take, to redo the stadium.
Yep.
Then you've got to clear the debt. Now, before you even open the door, someone's got to come in and put nearly 400 million into this club without even touching the surface. Now, I can't see that happening. So, would I change my mind over the owners? No, because I don't think no one silly enough is going to come in and put nearly 500 million into West Ham United and expect us to be a top six side, because it's not going to happen. It goes back to, I don't even think the squad ain't good enough, but I would say 90% of the fans hate that stadium, and until we get our hands on it and convert it, it's never going to feel like home.
No.
It's never going to have that family feel. It's never going to be Upton Park. It's never going to. I hate it with a passion. I hate walking there. I hate parking there. I only go there to support the team.
Yeah, which most of us all do, to be fair. But there's nobody in there that well, apart from a few people. But there are, that's all we care about is wherever West Ham are playing. It doesn't really matter from that point of view. But
also as well, mate, I the reason I say all that is that I get stick sometimes. So you're only saying that because you never got offered to go to the Olympic Stadium. It wasn't that. It was literally one, I was promised by Karen and other people at the club that you'll still go, you'll still have your job. And then all of a sudden being in the stadium, and I can't stand it. I hate everything about it, walking there. But I'll tell you what I will say, and a lot of fans don't know this. I did my job for nothing because I loved it. I didn't get a penny from West Ham unless they offered it. I did it because I loved it. So when they all turn around and say, "Oh, you're bitter" and all that, it's not bitter because I wasn't getting any money. I did it because I loved it, and I could be a bit more bitter about it because, But then you got the other scenario: 3 hours before kickoff, I had to be in the stadium. I didn't have to be, but I just loved it because I love being around Russ. I love knowing what's going on in the day, and there's little things like turning up early in the stadium. And I would be the only one in Upton Park, and I would take pictures, and I'm like, "What's a job I got?"
Yeah,
literally, what's a job? And now I know for a fact now, when they turn up at the Olympic stadiums, they have to get all their criteria done before a game. It's not their stadium; it's different people there. I think there's about 5 or 10 match day staff that was at Upton Park. Even the groundsmen are there, but it's not their pitch. It's not West Ham's pitch. Our head groundsman run the training grounds. They go there on the train. Other people look after it, but he's not in charge of that pitch. It's a joke. So,
which is why it was looking bold at the Bournemouth friendly.
Well, yeah. Well, they have a big say on it, and they still run it, but it's not their pitch to look after 24/7 like Upton Park would.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that you go to the training grounds and they're pristine. They're literally the dog's bollocks, the training grounds, because they're working 24/7 on the training pitches.
Yeah.
But this is the big question of what West Ham fans should have worried about, is that we own no bricks and mortar. West Ham United don't own nothing no more. So we could potentially fold, and that would be it, because we've got nothing to sell off now. We've got nothing. And this
all we've got is the badge, mate. That's all we've got to sell off. That is literally it. It is literally the stitching on the shirts. That is it. There was literally nothing else. Like you said, all four training grounds are owned by other people. We're in a rented stadium. The only thing technically, I suppose, that we do own is the carpet. I guarantee that's probably rented. and and likewise possibly the home changing room. There's nothing. We've got no assets. We've absolutely no assets.
We have nothing. We don't own nothing at that stadium. Not one
No.
bit at the stadium we own. Literally, that carpet gets ripped up. That's probably on rent.
Yeah.
It's all been put in place to when these sell up. Long-term future was for Dave and Jack to take over the club. I know that for a fact. That was the future. But let's take out of what's happened. I still class them as friends and I still talk to them. But I genuinely believe this, John. I know for a fact I would be worried for their safety if they went out in the public in a minute. They're two young lads, which is not fair. I'm not saying it at all, but I genuinely feel for their safety in a minute because I think West Ham fans are that pissed off and angry that something could happen.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I know the majority of the fans that are angry aren't that stupid, but you will get a smaller minority of those that will just don't care. They say, look, you don't care about me, I'm not going to care about you attitude, and it's wrong, especially with the kids. It's Dave Sullivan and Junior and Jack have had no hand in this. I know they've had hands in their own time, but that's because their dads asked them to do stuff for them. But also, it's all down to the two Davids or the three in this instance. But
well, you got to see it from their point of view as well. Like, I'll probably be the same. Like, if my dad bought West Ham, and Jack is a diehard West Ham fan, and you're sitting in the same house and your dad's getting phone calls. Oh, Dad, go and buy that player. I'd probably, at the start, he was a young kid on Twitter and telling everyone that was going about. I would probably be.
Liam, come back.
I'm back.
Don't do that, man. I told you we can't go through one conversation without something going on.
The works have just had an operation, so it's fucking killing them. So I think they've learnt their lessons, but like I know that Jack runs the girls now. I can't see a way out of this problem. I can't see how we're going to change because. Yes, I do think we're going to get taken over very soon. I really do. I think that's coming. I'm not going to leave that message. So I've got another one. I do think we're going to get taken over. I have heard rumours that it will be American base. You've only got to put two and two together. The geezer that come in and bought the shares, he's behind it. There's no doubt about it.
Well, that's why he came in the first place, is to secretly do stuff behind the scenes. Because I guarantee Sullivan was when Trip Smith put in, what was it, a year and a half ago? It'd be 2 years in January, if I remember correctly. That's when Sullivan said, "All right, I've had enough. I want to get out of this club." And now the stuff that's happened recently, especially with all this bullshit about the fact that they've pushed the season ticket renewal date back to Wednesday because the phone lines are too busy. Bullshit the other way round. If the phone lines are too busy, this is why you can't get your season ticket.
I've never known this club to do that with season tickets for a start.
Twice in 3 weeks.
And to put the kits, Jesus Christ, there's a sale on the kits every week now. These kits are, at the end of the season, they're going to go for a £5 at this rate. I've never known, but again, it's going back to the thing. Why are we doing this? We should have money well in the bank now. I don't, and it comes down to the one simple fact is they do not want to put it in because they know they're selling up and they're keeping their money to themselves. They're only using money that's profit, so they don't have to put no more money in because they know and they've had enough. They can't take it anymore. And I always remember having a conversation with David Sullivan and saying to him, "Have you got enough money to take this with you?" And he actually said, "No, it's all tied up in property." And he owns all the property in Oxford Street and Soho. It's all tied up. He hasn't got no readies to go, right, there's 30 million to go and buy Calvin Lewis for instance. He hasn't got that money, and so he can't take that to the next step. And he was relying on us from the Payet days, getting into Europe, getting into the Champions League, living off no one expected Payet to leave. because trust me, I know for a fact that they wasn't expecting what happened after he come back from the France duty. He was going to get us to in Europe, and that was going to build the money to go and buy the big players that we was all promised, so they didn't have to put no more money in. And I know they've got this deadline of they've got to give 50% back, but they've got to the point where now they don't give a toss about the 50%. They'd rather just wipe their mouth of it now and just move on, because
exactly, mate. This is the prime time of why Peach has asked this question. I mean, you won't obviously hear it in the same way that we do, but so didn't the owners take out 40 million quid from the club they were owed? Why can't they invest that back in the squad? Because it's their line, their pockets, mate. That's what it is, Peach. That's exactly what it is. They put this is the thing about the whole stadium move that really gets my goat up. We'll come on to financial fair play, which also ties into this as well in a minute, but they clearly fudged their projections to agree the London Stadium move, because the part of the deal was that we were supposed to be out of debt by the time we moved into London Stadium. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
They obviously bought the debt. So which is why they're still taking the interest payments off it. The largest interest rate going for the amount of money they've taken out. Sorry, I should say for any Premier League club that's had loans by their own owners. This, just it's just stuff like that, man, that really gets really my back's up. Well, everybody's back up, I should say. It's just down to the fact that there are so many financial loopholes that these guys are working their way through. And this is why, and a lot of people will have the same opinion to me, because I've heard it a lot over the last few months and years. They're not fans. They may have been fans at some point. I'm not going to argue to say that David Gold isn't a fan in the way that he has been. I just kind of think to this fact that, he's knocking on a few years now, bless him. He wants to look after his kids because of his, various health conditions. And as you said before, mate, Sullivan's not exactly in a brilliant state either. But and they've kind of lost sight of what's happened, and now they're using their own usual tactics of getting people to speak out on their behalf instead of coming out and doing it publicly themselves. Jim White, Sean Whetstone, a few other little people that they've all that crap they gave Sky Sports, and Sky were too scared to say no. We're telling the truth. We've been saying it for years. You have to invest your money. We're not gonna backtrack. But they didn't. They cowed down. They're bullies, mate. At the end of the day, they're absolute bullies, and it really irritates me. But I have a big issue with financial fair play in the way that it's been dealt with at West Ham. It's being used correctly, which is why it's fucking irritating me. Financial play in a very very short soundbite. Financial fair play rules are there, so owners can't invest money off their own backs. They can't have what Man City were investigated to do twice. They can't do what Abramovich used to do at Chelsea, and all this sort of stuff. So Sullivan's hid behind it. He hasn't adhered to the rule. He's over adhered to the rules. That's why we hardly go out and spend any money on buying in players, and then we go and give Jack Wilshere 120 grand a week.
Yeah,
because the financial fair play rules is basically sums up the money that you're paying, not just for fees, and it also takes into consideration agents' fees as well. That comes into expenditure, and obviously wages at the same point. Now, so it is fair from one point of view, because all clubs are going down the same route. They all have to say, right, we spent 150, we've had 150 million pound come in revenue. Let's try and spend 130. Keep a few million back, which is a very, very admirable way to run a business. The problem is you can't running a football club, like a business, doesn't work.
No.
Because we get into this situation where clubs get relegated, where teams like Bolton and Wigan and all that sort of stuff come very, very close. And if not, go into administration because they are trying to spend as much money as they can to get themselves up. There is a leeway there's a financial leeway, but you can only, that you can spend more. You can spend more than you earn for a certain period of time, but you have to make that back up within the remaining 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. But this is the problem. This is really is the problem, is the fact that because of all the stupid way that we've been spending the money on, not just because of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Before that, with the Icelandics, that, unlucky, very unlucky. But at the same point, we're doing the same thing, spending 25-30 million pounds, which was a lot before the Sullivans came in, Sullivan Gold, I should say, came in, and we're spending 70-80 grand a week on a player that shouldn't get more than 20 or 30. It's the very, that clip again, that video clip that went around today about all the stuff that they said at the press conference, and Sullivan said, we're not going to be bringing in players on huge amounts of money towards the end of their career. We're doing that. We've been doing that for the last 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, we've been Harry as well. Nigel Winter-Burns and Stuart Pearce. Yeah, you can go back. West Ham are known for it, mate. To be fair, you always buy Ian Wrights and players that have come to their end of contract. I think it's just a norm that they think they're going to bring numbers through the doors and stuff like that, and just do merchandise. It's one of them. Like, but I've got a question for you as well. Like,
go for it, mate.
So, where do you think? Well, you think that the club, Gold, Sullivan, and Cameron Brady, to offer no more, and why do you think they're still here?
They're still here because they know they can get a big payday at the end of the tenure in the next 2 to 3 years. That's my opinion on it. Because at the end of the day, it's quite clear that Karen Brady doesn't give a shit about the club. Otherwise, she wouldn't be putting out the article she's putting out. Because Sullivan and Gold have been isolating themselves years before COVID came around. They just want money coming in. They are literally like landlords. They just want the money coming in. They don't want to make any repairs. They don't want to make any improvements. They just want to get the money coming in and not spend a penny. Which is fine. It's a great business idea. You just can't do it on a football ground.
I always remember David Gold telling me to my face, the reason we're leaving Upton Park is because it's falling down. I went, well, that stand was only built in 2001, so how comes it falling down? It can't be. One
thing that really irritates me about it, and just thinking about it now, because how I got into West Ham was from my mum's side of the family, born and raised in Barking, and they are Barking, trust me. But one of the things that really irritates me, which is why I'm glad you said what you've just said, because it backs up my theory I've been saying for years. And why about they don't care enough, and the reason why I'm not renewing next season unless a miracle happens, is that when after my parents divorced, Mum used to sell the house every few years because she wasn't keeping it up. She wasn't making the right repairs. She's getting things, getting a new boiler here and there and all that sort of stuff, but not doing any long-term renovations to the house. And that's what really irritated me about when we did the final family move. And that's the reason and that comes around to the same thing. Is you're absolutely right, mate. Because at the end of the day, they don't know how to look after a club. And for him to say that we're moving because it's falling to bits, if that had come out a few years ago, I guarantee you, we would be in League One by now, and we would be looking at the demonstrations that Blackpool went through.
Yeah,
and it's slowly happening because pushing the season ticket renewal, as we said earlier, back twice in the space of 2 or 3 weeks is because people are saying, "I've had enough." Blackpool fans did exactly the same thing.
But let's just say everything went rosy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say Sullivan and Gold are walked away by now, and the 2 kids and Jacqueline are taken over by now, right? How would they look after a Premier League club when they've got no money as well? It was never going to happen unless Sullivan signed everything over to the boys for them to sell and I don't know off the top of my head, you're looking at what 800 million selling off all his properties, etc. Now, why would the two boys want to spend all their life money on West Ham United? It was never going to happen, and it's never going to happen.
No.
Why would you want to do that? And let's give them some, because at the end of the day, they did save us. Why they did this in the first place is because they knew what the long haul was going to come, and they've done this money for the kids. Their money they're going to earn. Let's just say we sell it for 800 million, which is told that's what they want, and they're not budging on that price. They're going to lose 400 million of that, so they've got 400. They've earned their money back. That what did they pay for it in the end? 80 million, wouldn't they?
What you mean when they got the majority stakeholder? Yeah, so, 85 million, if I remember correctly.
So potentially they've still got to add the loans as well. So they've earned 100 million on top each, and plus 80 back. Well, sorry, in my eyes, that's good business. It
is.
As much as I hate that to say that, but that's good business. They've earned 100 million in 10 years.
But at the same, as I said, it's not how you run a football club. And then at the same point, you'd be saying about they saved us. Technically, yes, and there's no, because there were other investors around at the time. In hindsight, technically, it was a good idea that we didn't have any of the other people that were invested. For example, Tony Fernandez. Look what happened with QPR. Splashed the cash, didn't work. They're in the Championship. Not there's anything wrong with being in the Championship. Sometimes I think maybe the Championship is going to be the better side for us. In the long run, I think it's going to be a better league, because at the end of the day, it's how you reinvest. It's how you clear your debts quicker, because you're not spending as much money on people that just want to take you for all the money they can get. Yes, all right. It's a fair point that. It's the wages that players are paid is because that's what they agree with the club. But the players should be saying, actually, no, you're offering me too much money. You should really be offering me this. But they won't do it because in the same way that if you got headhunted for the job that you do that came from a better company and said, right, we'll give you an extra six or 7 grand a year, you'd fuck off tomorrow.
Oh, 100%. But also, John, why are we the only club, I should say, that's got in?
So you broke up then, mate. Say that again.
Why are we the only club that's got in-house agents? So this Tottenham documentary at the moment, they've got a full-time recruiter who Jose they give him like a sheet and go, right, this player's really good, etc., like headhunting, as you said. But now David Sullivan Jr. is our agent that gets the players. Like Yarmolenko was signed. Who was the manager? It wasn't Pellegrini, was it? Who was the manager? I can't think who it was. But he was signed because he's a part of David Sullivan.
What, Yarmolenko?
Yarmolenko was signed by David Sullivan Jr.
Yeah.
He was signed by him. He wasn't even a part of the manager's plans. I'm sure he was Pellegrini, but he was signed because of the deal that Sullivan put together, and that was his first signing for West Ham as an agent.
What you're talking about? Will Salthouse, yeah? Was that was that a different agent?
So he runs a business with Salthouse, yeah. Junior, Dave Junior, and Salthouse run a business. I don't know if that's common knowledge, but they run the agency together. They.
Well, this is the problem, mate. I mean, as you saw from all the documentaries, actually, to be fair, not just the Spurs one. They've got designated scouting systems. They've got designated, like you said earlier, they've got better masseuses. They've got a bigger. Basically, we're not even League Two facilities as it stands at the minute. Yes, all right. It was a good thing that a couple of years ago they invested more money into the training ground. Clarence Hugh went on a big ramble about that. The fact that they invested 5 or 6 million, and we thought, oh well, what's that going to get us?
Yeah.
Not enough. When you break it down, like you said, mate, there's 4 training grounds to think about. So 6 million divided by 4, it's not a lot of money.
Also, as well, John, let's have this right. I know I'm a football manager. We only need one pitch to train on. Every team needs one pitch, right? So why have we got 4 training grounds that other people use? Now, I know for a fact, like I think it was last season or the season before. Billericay Town used Chadwell Heath to training during the winter, and they paid.
Yeah.
Now, it's quite laughable when you think about it. Now, Billericay have just had a free GP paid for, so they won't be doing it this year. But that is quite laughable. I live down the road from Southend United. Like, at the moment, they ain't got a pot to piss in at the minute. Like, their training ground. I used to play for Southend when I was a kid. With my uncle was the manager. Like, their training ground is still back in the 90s, exactly the same. And we are the same, to be fair. We've got people like Ron Martin and David Sullivan are out the same tree. They literally do everything on the cheap. It's a joke. Like, I understand why Grady was sold. As much as I didn't want him to go, I can understand where he's going, because no one wanted Anderson, no one wants Lanzini, and I don't blame other clubs wanting them. I wouldn't want them, to be fair. I can't. Rice is the only one that will get a transfer fee, because he's the only decent player we've got that's worth value for money. But
I agree.
He's going. He's going to Chelsea. So just West Ham fans, there's no point keep saying, oh, don't tweet him, stay and all that. He's going. There's no doubts about it. Just he's the same with Rio. He's the same with Frank. We just got to let them go. We're holding them back.
I know, but I know what you mean, mate. But at the same point, because relegation is inevitable anyway. To be honest with you, it really is inevitable. But that will be the last nail in the coffin if we do sell Rice within the next 4 weeks. Well, it's about 3. No, it's not even that. It's 3 weeks now, isn't it? 3 weeks. 3 weeks today, in fact, the transfer window closes. So I really hope you're proven wrong, mate. I really do, because we'll be in the relegation zone by January if we sell him, because I know, and and fair play to him. If at the end of the day, it will go on, move away will progress his career 100%, because he is hitting his head against a glass ceiling with us at the minute. We all know it, regardless of all the criticism he got over one game. It's just we all know he's our most valuable asset, and that's why it hurts the most with Grady being sold as well. That's what hurt, is because, as Nicky said on his video this morning, 3 or 4 days before he was sold, he was the club was tweeting and putting it all over Facebook. Can't wait to see more from these two.
Yeah, him and Bowen.
And he goes,
yeah.
I mean, what is going on? What is going on? It's just it is the you said that West Ham died at the last game at the Bowling, and not disagreeing with you, mate. It's because it has been bar a couple of good results here and there, like for example when we finished that season on a plus goal difference, and then the following season when we came very, very close to properly getting into Europa, rather than just going through the qualifying rounds that we which we would have done anyway. But it still makes me laugh that we got through to Europe under Sam Allardyce as the best behaved club in the league. The least amount of bookings. I mean, how can you do that with an Allardyce club?
It's just, I can't put it into words, mate. It's just, yeah, it's one of them now. I think we're going to fall apart. I can see us. I just don't get, like, let's just say we sell Declan Rice for 80 million. Let's be realistic, West Ham fans. Who are we going to sign? Who wants to come to this club? I can't see. We will need, out of that 80 million that's sold for Dec, we need a 40 to 50 million pound player just to get us back on side. Now, off the top of my head, I can't think of one player. I'm watching Chelsea at the moment. They're starting Havertz and Theo Warner. Now, they went for that sort of money, but why they come to West Ham over someone like Chelsea? It's not going to happen.
Of course not.
Never.
Mate, even if we were splashing the cash, we were completely debt free. We're in a financial situation that Arsenal are in, where they're actually making decent profits. It still wouldn't happen. And I'll tell you why, because of that shit stadium. My opinion about the stadium is just like, I don't give a shit about it anymore. When I walk through it, I don't see the gaps. I don't see anything else. Okay, call me a romantic. Maybe it's the romantic football lover that's in me. But having a stadium with all that history and that feel of a grassroots style stadium is what should draw professionals, proper football players who love the game and aren't just chasing money. And that's the problem with being in the Premier League. You, for every 10 signings that you'll make, you'll have one that is there for the football. They'll say, yeah, it's a big club, blah, 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 but they'll be there for the wages. They'll be absolutely there for the wages.
I saw on Twitter today there's 4 possible left backs that we're going to sign. Now, if you were to give me that when we left Upton Park, then 4 left backs, I would have said no to every one of them. So why is it good now to have that sort of shit that can't get in the Chelsea side, can't get in the Arsenal side? We wouldn't have took him in 2006, but now we will take him because we just need to get rid of Aaron Cresswell. It's just we've gone backwards and backwards and backwards. We've not, since we've kicked a ball at London Stadium, I can't think of one positive. I know you said about the positive goals. I can't think of one decent thing that happened in that fucking stadium. All right, we beat Chelsea, we beat Tottenham, but we've done that fucking when we left Upton Park. There's no difference.
That's what I'm saying. The plus goal difference was under Bilic when I think it was the last season, because I remember us sitting the last season before the last season, I should say, the penultimate season. I remember me and my mates sitting around going, we've never done this before. We've never finished the season on it was sort of like +5 or +6, whatever it was at the time. It was. I mean, even in January, we had a plus goal difference. I mean, then it all went to shit, and we finally cooped it back. But still, there isn't any decent things. You're absolutely right, mate. Over the last 4 years, because obviously we're coming into the 5th season now, there aren't more than 3 memories over that last 4 years there's no more than 3.
Do you know what the weirdest thing is, though? I've got more of a memory when James Collins left than I do anything positive about that stadium. And that's how bad it is. I think more about that last game that he cried than I do about any of the results. Now, we all love Ginge. I actually got called. I got called his son when I was at West Ham. I used to be Ginge too. But when you're thinking about a player leaving as your positive thing that you can think of that stadium, that's something that. But you say this, if you went to the owners and say, right, we say what we're saying now, they're going to say, well, and carry on. Yeah. Like that picture. Now, I know Trevor Brooklyn was sitting in the front on Saturday, which he should do anyway. Same with Billy Bonds. I should have their seats at the front every game, hands down, right? So why has Karen allowed her husband in the stadium, but no one else is?
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Like that picture at the Burnley game, right? I actually said to someone on Twitter today, that Burnley game, there's a picture where David Sullivan Jr. is talking to her name's Jill that works at the stadium. Why is John Motson sitting in the director's box on a seat on his own? Have a look at that picture later. John Motson from the BBC is sitting in the director's box next to Karen Brady. Like, it's the most random bloody thing I've ever seen. It's just, that's just West Ham all over. It's just we're the most random joke club, and everyone takes the piss out. It's like I went to football yesterday with the lads, and they're just like, why do you support that shit? Like, and the worst thing about it, John, it's like I've got a good side, but I prefer to watch them than at the minute, because I love them to bits, but like you go through the sides, like a Bonner was phenomenal last season.
Yeah.
Fabianski, I said that we need to replace him. He's 36 now. I might be wrong on that.
You're not that far off, mate. You're not far off.
He needs to be replaced. Fredericks is a championship player. Aaron Cresswell's lost it. Declan Rice is the only decent one. Souček is going to be a player, but he's probably going to be gone in a year's time, so don't get too much hopes on him. Bowen I like, but he's a little bit one-footed for me. And he's more left-footed. He needs to work on both feet. That's only my opinion. Antonio, he's in his 30s now, so he ain't going to get a sell-on value. And I can see him being sold to a Championship club more than a Premier League club that's coming up. No one wants Anderson. No one wants Lanzini. So, like, that squad is shit from top to bottom. And off the top of your head, what would you put down? So, I would say that we need 300 million spent to revamp that squad. What price tag would you put on to revamp that squad?
I'd probably stick an extra 100 million on top of that, mate. To be honest with you, I really, really do. Not just focusing on the starting 11, but having as well. You know, you've got to spend a good few mils to have people there that are available. Can be a game changer. Have the, like for example, when you can bring players on that you can change, you can swap the tactics around, so the formation around, and it doesn't break up the style of play. That's half the problem we have. We start off with shit tactics. We bring a player on and it changes the game. You know, like for example, start of last season. Right, Man City at home. We were only 1-0 down because of the hard work and the pressure that Antonio put on him. He comes off at half time. We lose it 5-0.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're not a big fan of him, but that's the point. Is the fact that because he was piling the pressure on, we don't have enough people that work hard enough for it. That's half the issue.
I watched a documentary on Leeds on Sky last night. Right now, Bielsa has them in the training from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 at night. He's got a hotel for them. He makes them go home and have an hour sleep in the afternoon, and then come back to training. And works them constantly running in high press. Now,
I mean, go on, mate. Sorry.
Literally, don't get me wrong, that got them up in the Championship, but it shows what they did against Liverpool by just doing that. So, I just don't get it. Like we train for an hour and a half a day. It's a shambles.
I don't understand why Moyes isn't doing the two or three training sessions a day like he did when he came in originally and when he did the second time round. But talking about the Liverpool Leeds game, I watched the whole lot, mate. That was one of the best games I think we'll ever see this season. I know we're only in the first weekend, but you can't get much better football than that. Belisa was kicking every single ball.
Yeah, 100%.
He was squatting down the whole time. If that was us, man, we would have capitulated after the first equaliser. Leeds kept coming back and back and back. And I hate to say it, and I never thought I'd say this about Leeds, but they were playing the old West Ham way.
Yeah. But I have something that turned my stomach today. You seen them bidding for Dimitri Payet?
Really?
Yeah. That is just a kick in the bollocks if Payet.
I'll be very, very surprised, mate, if it's from a reliable source. I'll be very, very surprised.
I saw it on one of the Twitter things today. I saw that they've put a bid in for Payet.
Yeah. I wouldn't. As I say, I'll have to see it. But if it's from HITC or 90minutes.com and all that sort of stuff, just nah, man.
One in the newspapers. I just saw it. Someone retweeted it on Twitter, and I just saw it.
That's fine. I'm not disbelieving you, man. I guarantee that that's more suicide than they're currently on at the minute. I mean, just while we're talking about it, before we wrap this up, mate, what are your thoughts about these new stickers that have been put on the London Stadium? You must have seen that.
Oh, I actually said to someone today, look, I understand why Lampard's there because of history. That's the only reason, because of history. Yeah. But it goes back to the point where there's too many people that are not West Ham people in that side of that club.
Yeah.
One of the main people that you see on Twitter who works for the club, he's not West Ham. He's actually a Tottenham fan. Now, I'll tell you off air who it is, but he's an avid Tottenham fan, and that just goes down to my point. There's not enough West Ham. There was at Upton Park,
yeah,
but there's not enough West Ham people inside West Ham no more, and they don't like it when we have a voice. They don't like what you do. They don't like what Nicky does. They don't like up to a point, I know X's turn now on Dave and X's turn on the ball, but up to the point that they was worried about what X was doing. Now they don't care, because they've turned the other way. And the minute you you think about it as well, like I'm talking about the best memories that I had at Upton Park, and I'm talking negative about the owners. But at the end of the day, they give me a job that I loved. But I know for a fact that people like Baz, who spoke to Dave and Jack as well, why are we all speaking out about them now? Because at the end of the day, bleed claret and blue, and we've had enough. You take the friendship out of it. I want my club back, and it's never going to come back. And I want to be that club that can turn up at Old Trafford and get a win. And I went to Old Trafford. I've been to Old Trafford twice, and that was when Di Canio beat Bartes, and the season after when Bo scored. And I said I'll never go back because I'm never going to see us win again, so I'm not going to jinx it. But even back through the village years, I went to Blackburn away, and we was a different side then. We went to away games. Like, I'll give you a scenario now. If we Everton was 2-0 down on Saturday when under Billich that year, do you think we would, the team we got now, would we have come back and won 3-2? Not a fucking chance.
No way in hell, mate. It would have been 6 or 7.
Yeah. Now that's going back under the Glen Road and Avon Grant days where we just up. I remember losing 7-2 to Blackburn. No, 7-1. Sorry, 7-1 under Glen Roder at Blackburn. And all them sort of days. And that's what we've got to realise this is what's happening this year, because I can't see us making any big signings. Like you said, we're 3 weeks away. I can't one player at the Premier League who's not playing that we could put a 20 to 30 million pound bid in and nick them. I can't think of anyone like. The only player that comes to mind is maybe this striker that's at Arsenal, Eddie. What's his name? Begins with an N. A young player that plays for England under 21s. Got the young kid at Liverpool. I prefer us going down that route, actually, buying younger players. But again, they're not gonna sell season tickets like what they want. But in the long run, they could potentially earn us 30 to 40 million down the run, and they're the players that they get because they know they can earn money back on it. Yeah. Unless this consortium that I've been told today is got there's legs behind it. If they stop,
to put it bluntly, Leon, is it the person that told you this? Are they a reliable source?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I know it's been going on around on Twitter, something to do with Spence, but there's legs. You know, if you said to me it's the Saudis after what happened to Newcastle, I said no.
Of course not. No, it make no logical sense. They were blocked once. Why would they think, all right, we'll get away with it the second time?
The reason why I believe what I've been told today is because it's American and because of what the guy done and put money in before. I do think he's got legs, and I think it's got to the point where Sullivan's going to say, right, I'm just going to take the full. I've earned my money out of it. I'm not going to get the full money out of it because we're not going to go anywhere. And then I know I've heard from people that he wants out anyway, Sullivan. So take it and run, sort of, you know. And let's have it right. It's not fair on the kids, on Jacqueline, and it's not fair on David Gold. What was he, 75 now? He shouldn't be running a football club at his age anyway.
Well, he's not. He's the PR man for the club.
He should have his money out of the club. David Sullivan has not been well for a long while. Why would you put that extra stress on your heart and put the and what West Ham fans got to realise as well? We're putting stress on the kids.
Which we talked about earlier, so it shouldn't be that way, mate. And as you were saying about this, you know, take the money and run. That's what they did with Birmingham, and look what happened there.
But what I'm worried about is the good thing about it is the American guy is already in the club. I would have
Yeah.
been worried if someone come along and offered and they'd gone, all right, fuck it, take first million. What they did at Birmingham, sold to the Chinese guy and then got put in prison a year later, didn't he, or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would have been more worried it would have been a two-bob geezer. But at least it's someone who knows how the club is sort of being run. Not he might have different opinions how the club should be run.
Yeah.
He takes over, but I don't even know how much money he's got either. Has he got these billions of pounds as well behind him?
Well, this is the thing, mate. This is part of the background checks that the Premier League will do, is to make sure that yes, all right, you might have the cash available now. Will you have it in 5 or 6 years' time? And that's what stumbled off the Saudi investment to Newcastle, was because they were trying to get enough information to do it, and again, quite rightly so, because it's got to show that these owners are self-sufficient. I mean, the part of the consortium is the fucking Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. Now, I know not many people have heard about them, but I know from one point of view, because the company that I deal with, we have a contract with them for events that the company runs. So they are bloody difficult people to get 5 or 6 grand out of to pay for an invoice.
Yeah,
they're going to be able to sustain running a bloody football club.
But like, I would personally say now, I would say 95% of us want them gone.
Yeah,
but let's be realistic about this. We want them gone, but unless it's these American, no one's going to come in and buy it. So they're literally the only way that they could sort of get a little bit of credit back as such is to turn around and say that they want to sell up and go, and then we know where we stand. But then they won't do that for the point of view is that they're putting something out for sale and people are going to offer stupid, silly, cheap money for it.
Yep.
And they're going to lose. But they're in a no-win situation. I think as much as they want to say that they want out and they're going to tell people that they want out to get it leaked out, it's not going to happen unless someone comes along and goes, right, I'm offering you X, Y, and Z for West Ham United. But then you got the other scenario. Would someone come in and only buy the club, knowing that stadium is going to be ours in 2-3 years? Because potentially, why would you want to buy a club that's got no bricks and mortar? There's got to be something in concrete that we're going to get that stadium, because then it becomes viable. At the moment,
mate, the land is worth way more than the stadium.
Yeah,
that's the selling point.
So this is what fans got. We all want them out. We can do all the videos. We can do all the processing we want, but we need someone to come in that's got pockets, that's willing to do it. And it's the same with selling the players. Unless someone's got the money and wants to buy Lansey or Anderson, we're stuck with them until someone does it. And that is the hardest thing that we've got to take. We've got to put up with them until someone says, "I'm going to go and help West Ham United," because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Okay, mate, and right, let's try and end this on a positive note.
Well, it's like I haven't got the chat. Does anyone want to ask me about anything about what happened to Upton Park or what I'd done at the stadium, etc.?
I mean, I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and we've gone over lots longer than I was hoping, mate. But what I want to wrap up with it on is your thoughts for the cup game tomorrow night. Well, first and foremost, we can't watch it unless we spend a tenner to stream it, because it's not being broadcast, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth.
That means we've got to go through the legal sites tomorrow to try and find us.
Well, unless anyone signed up to the English the EFL version of Prem Pass, which is iFollow, because it'll be broadcast via that, but it won't be broadcast on Sky or whatever. But taking that out of the equation, I mean, what are your thoughts for tomorrow night?
I couldn't give a toss.
I thought you might say that, yeah. And to be honest with you, we normally do watch alongs for everything, and I'm not doing a watch along tomorrow night. I'm not going to watch it.
I actually would like Lee Bowyer to come and do one over us, because it put more pressure on the team to spend more money. Personally, yeah, I would love Bowyer to come and do us, and that's horrible to say as a West Ham fan, to want us to lose, but I can't see it. I can't see Mate, if you ask me what the team's going to be, it's going to probably be Randolph, Johnson, Balwina, someone at left back, Anderson, Lanzini, Haller, and then knowing Haller, it'll be people like Josh Cullen that are, and Nathan Trottengold, and you'll be like, well, why aren't you putting your strongest team out? If you want to win the fans back, go on a cup run.
Yeah.
Put your strongest 11 out. And like what we done a few years ago, winning 8-0. We had the kids that night, but Jesus Christ, one of the best games that I've seen. Like the kids, don't put the kids in. Go for it and say, fuck it, let's go for it. Let's get a cup run. And our luck, it'll be the first time we get to a cup final and we can't go to it.
Yeah, I know, but that'd be the stupid thing. It really would be the stupid thing. But guys, thank you very much for sticking around for the almost hour and a half. As I said, I wasn't planning to go on this, but we had a lot to talk about. Leon, it's been absolutely great to properly talk to you, mate, and thank you very much for coming on, guys. Dale, I'm very disappointed with you. This is the only time we've talked about a game where you said we ain't going to win 3-1. You normally do. But yeah, if Dell's keeping quiet, then yeah, we know that we know for well we ain't gonna get anything out of it. But guys, thank you very much for your time. As I said, I'm not doing the live watch. I'm not even going to bother watching the game. I never ever said that. I've thought I'd never ever say that, but I'm not going to be watching it. So yeah, we'll have the weekly conversation on Wednesday. And then obviously, of course, the preview for the Arsenal game. And just quickly, Leon, while we're on that subject, mate, thoughts for Saturday?
After watching Arsenal, the way they play, we are going to get smashed. They play how I would absolutely dream how we would play. Like, they've got players that want the ball in their 6-yard box and they're not under pressure without touch, but are so comfortable on the ball to play a ball like out of their defence, and it's something that I would dream West Ham, but it's never going to happen. So unless we press them, we are just going to get that ball's going to be popped about and we're just going to get torn apart. Unless we go there with a mentality, we're going to high press and we're going to work bollocks off. Otherwise, it's going to be a trouncing. That's the only way I can see it. The only way to do it is to roll his sleeves up, and go for it. But again, that's West Ham, boy. We will roll our sleeves. We end up going and get winning 2-0 or something.
Perfect. Well, brilliant.
Chelsea had just got a penalty and just about to go 1-0 out against Brighton. They could potentially be 8th as it stands at the minute. But guys, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you very soon.